Family, the track we're about to interact with right now was brought to my attention via a donation from one of our subscribers. Now, if you want to recommend a song, the link to the PayPal is going to be in the description below because, of course, YouTube yanks 30% of super chats. Guys, I appreciate, as always, your open, curious attention. Back to the video. Bongo energy early. Join us in the Selah moment. You remember we say Selah on this channel, meaning pause and reflect. You know, Tool is going to hit you a lot of times, more often than not, I find, with like, whether, 20 seconds to a full minute of just ushering in the spirit of the song with the music. That took like a psychedelic turn. You can always count on Tool for a funky synth. Talk to me, Maynard. Let's talk about it, buddy. Tension is building very, very subtly, though, because there's kind of an ease. I thought that was a singer doing the, oh, but it turned out to be some kind of like horn instrument. It's like, I don't know whether they're blending in the sound of voices with the sound of music, but it's a very fascinating thing to pay attention to. Family, you know what I would be interested in? What I would be interested in is knowing whether, because I got a little bit of insight into how Tool does their music because Danny gave an interview where he was talking about it. And like when they're all in the studio just kind of just doing a jam session, right? I wonder if Maynard will just catch a groove and just and the time that it takes him to discover what the song is about based on the sound is equivalent to the length of the Selah moment before we get the lyrics. I just wonder. That's just something that I wonder. So he's talking about having an option there, right? When you've come close to the end and you're kind of in this the state that he kind of calls pitiful, he moves a little bit closer and may kind of find comfort in the fact that once you're at rock bottom, you're kind of out of responsibilities, right? And he says, I may find peace in the emptiness. There is that option there to kind of return to wholeness and take some solace from the wandering of your mind, right? I wonder what it is that Maynard is saying, it's calling me. What is calling you? That's a tough one to figure out. Because before he said it's calling me, he said, how pitiful. Because he's saying, I may make peace with this emptiness. I might find some comfort here now that I've hit rock bottom and the gravity of the responsibilities, the gravity of my abandoning the present for the future has become so heavy that I've had to just drop it all. But then he says, how pitiful. And then he says, it's calling me. It's calling me. I wonder if that's the ego calling me pitiful. Wanting me to kind of establish that abandonment of the present, right? To pick up and try again. That's a difficult one. That's an interesting one. Guys, there's such a fascinating instrument in here. It sounds like a voice, and then it turns out to be some very strange Indian horn of something. It's like that, but when they hold a note, it just sounds like a human singing. It's a really, really strange effect. During my darkest moment, the moon speaks to me. That's kind of a perfect symbolism. The darkness, which represents chaos, right? I mean, the light of the sun represents order. We can go about our day. We can do business. We can see each other from a distance. There's a lot less entropy when the sun comes out. But the moon visits when darkness is around you. It's kind of the guide in your high entropy state when you've lost confidence, right? So the moon visits in the dark moment. Let's see. So in his darkest moment, he relied on the moon, which told him, the light that you see, I'm able to guide you even though I'm not the source of the light, right? And for some reason, the reason that's resonating to me as important is that when someone else is lost, when someone else feels pitiful and weak, it's important to establish to that person or to explain to that person that the light you see in everyone else in your darkest moments isn't their own. They're just a vessel for it, right? The light is in everyone, including the fetal and weeping. Maybe that's part of the message. This one is tough to interpret. See, he says crucify the ego. You know, crucify, the crucifix is where we get the word excruciating. This painful, excruciating process of emptying yourself of all of the labels, right? Now, I'm going to start doing a Genesis on this channel. I don't know when, but I'm going to start a Through the Bible series from the perspective of non-dual philosophy. I'm going to try my best. But when Adam and Eve knew that they were naked, right? When they came to the knowledge of their nakedness, right? They were subjects who were looking out on objects. When Maynard says, I must crucify the ego, I have to go back to that state where I am taking off all of the labels, right? And that's the only place where peace is found. I have an alarm on my phone, and I suggest you do this too, where just a couple times a day, have your phone set to alarm, and when the alarm goes off, it should tell you to remember yourself, to take off all of the masks. Whatever mask you're wearing currently, take it off and remember pure being. Remember that you're not, as I'm a father, I'm a husband, I'm a YouTuber, I'm all of these labels, right? But right now, in this exact moment, I don't have to be. I can choose to remember that, oh, those are just personas. Those are just masks that I'm wearing in order to accomplish goals, right? So he says, I must crucify the ego. I mean, he's speaking the words of Paul, the Apostle Paul, crucify the flesh, die daily. He needs to be lifted out before he pines away. If you don't crucify the ego, you will pine away. But pining away just means rotting away, disintegrating, what have you, right? When you identify with transient things, you undergo the illusion that you're dying with them, right? If I identify, and I say this a lot, right? If I identify with a political party and my identity is wrapped up in that party, when that political party loses, I will pine away. I will experience rot, even though I'm fine. It's just because I've lost myself in the label, right? He's saying if you don't crucify the ego, right, you'll pine away. You'll experience hell, this everlasting torment. And why is it everlasting? Because you are an everlasting thing, pretending to be temporal. I don't want to get too deep into, the metaphysics. This one's deep. he's cooking with absolute grease. Leave behind this place so negative and blind and cynical before it's too late. The place that's negative and blind and cynical, the ego, right, that he says to crucify. The ego feeds on the past and the future, and it is horrified of the present. The ego feeds on dust. Remember, the snake in the garden represents the ego, right? The first thing he says to Eve, did God truly say that you shall not? And it took Eve from the present into the past. Well, did God say this? Well, yeah, no. And, she comes back to herself. She comes back to the present and says, no, God didn't say we shouldn't eat of any of the tree. But then he says, okay, let's try the future. God knows that in the day you eat of it, you shall, right? The ego feeds on dust. That's why God punished the snake by saying, on dust you shall feed, and all of the other things. We're going to get into the Genesis here. It's going to be very deep. It's going to have a non-dual perspective. Everyone's invited to the table. Atheist, Christian, agnostic, Buddhist, Zoroastrian. Doesn't matter. Yeah, continue cooking with grease, Maynard. You are my fellow mystic, sir. Continue, please. Fam, have we pined away already? That's kind of the question that I have. Because he says it as a warning, right? Let this happen, crucify the ego before we pine away. That we have an opportunity here before something else happens, right? And it reminds me, because I'm going through Genesis on my own right now, when Cain killed his brother Abel, God gave Cain this same warning. Hey, something waits at your door, desiring to devour you, and you should master it before you pine away.